Yeah, it's nice getting a bit of sunshine and get a bit of heat.
Yeah, for sure. I love the sun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard that the we've had our first snow yesterday in Ireland, so it's good to be out down here getting a
Do you
bit of
get much
sunshine.
snow?
No, no, no. It's very seldom. But we haven't had much of a winter for the last about 3 years. So we were due a heavy winter this year. We've had no summer for the last 2, 3 years, no winter. So it's kind of goes in cycles.
Right. We
So yeah,
yeah, we haven't had really much snow yet, but it's coming.
yeah. I think a lot of places are going to be in for a big shock this year, weather-wise.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna continue for a while.
Yeah,
Weather and energy.
exactly, exactly. Well, of course, energy is a pretty interesting one. That there's, I suppose, from the days of Tesla, who who had invented electricity, or electricity is probably the wrong word, but he had invented this or rediscovered this free energy source from the earth. And then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, certain entities, all they could see was the ching, and they
Exactly.
blacklisted the guy, you know?
Exactly. There's no money in free energy.
No.
Why would you want to do that?
But I know if you've ever listened to Cryon, he talks about that there's
Listen
solutions
to
that
who?
Cryon,
Yeah, familiar with them.
that he talks about that there's already solutions out there for energy, that there's plentiful, free. Unfortunately, I suppose the fact that we're living in an economic society, there has to be a cost or a charge involved in all of these things. You know that there's we're not yet at that stage now where the powers that be would allow us to have the free energy.
Oh, I believe there's so much technology that's been available to us that
Oh yeah,
has been either just ignored or
locked up
hidden
somewhere.
or shot down because of precisely what you say. It's not economically profitable, I guess. But that's just
Yeah,
part of one of the big things, our the economy of the world, and you know, um, competitive commercialism is not going to make us all work together.
no,
It's
no, right.
designed the opposite.
Yeah, but I think things are changing too, though, as far as well, in some places where I suppose more happening on a smaller scale where communities are getting together and forming like collectives and co-ops, that type of stuff. So I think it'll probably take a while for mainstream, but definitely I think it's happening on a very small scale with individuals.
Oh, I think you're right. I just on online, I see lots of different little eco communities and
Mhm.
places that are working on a like you say on a smaller scale economic um where they're relying on within each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's our future.
Yeah, well, it's probably looking that way. I think governments, the way governments, they're kind of like an entity on their own selves, and they're kind of caught up in their power struggle. I mean, it doesn't matter what governments you listen to in any country, they're all they're all the same to worried about their own power and how they can stay in government for the next 4 years or 5 years or whatever the case may be, and taking care of their little nest egg, and typically the good of the people comes second.
Yeah. And as you say that, it's 12-12 here.
I know we have an election going on. Well, it'll be going on now at the end of the month, And the same thing again, there's four different parties, and then there's the independents. But all of the parties, they're all kind of saying pretty much the same thing, just different variations of the same thing. It's only
Well, let
the
me ask you,
independent.
in Ireland, with the different parties over the years you've watched your country change, is there much change with any different party in there?
Sinn
Like,
Féin is the only one really that's different, or that have been different. Typically we've had Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, two main parties, and they've been kind of ruling the roost, and they've been in power since either one or both of them together have been in power for the last 100 years. So they kind of rule the roost, and they've kind of a lot of families would have grown up that we're a Fianna Fáil family or we're a Fine Gael family. And it's only really now over the last maybe 5 years that different parties and different thinking, dependence, the rise that we've had in independence now is been huge,
right,
where the both main parties haven't had the numbers they've needed to have the support of the independents to get into power. So that's an interesting dynamic there. And of course, like as independents, they're all on their own journey as well. So it's very hard for the collective to have all of the independents thinking the same way, because the whole thing of independent is that they're thinking differently. So they have to sort of make some sort of deal along the way to get into power. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next month or so.
Mm, so you obviously you're probably familiar, US election just happened.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that'll be
So
interesting.
I don't really follow it that close. I mean, you can't
Mm,
not hear about the different things that happen, especially here in Canada, right beside the US. It's it's right there in our face every day. But the energy that pulled in,
mm,
and not just US or North America, but globally, by one election and one person coming into office, and a lot of polarized negative energy over it and positive energy. And it really does affect, the well-being of everybody, just on how they perceive or process all that.
yeah, and it's I suppose that's why America is always known as the strongest country in the world. Uh, but now you have the likes of Putin and all of these other people coming up who want to change that whole dynamics, and they're creating now that interest. You've got India, Iran, China, uh, Russia, trying to get rid of the petrodollar and change it where um, their commerce is going to be using either the rand or the kobo or something different other than the dollar. So it's interesting to see what's happening, and the little things that's going on.
As long
I
as we don't all just get fearful of it, then it'll land probably in a decent place. But if we all just start, for example, I'll go back to the elections, and my daughter was saying, oh yeah, her friend, they don't follow it too much, but there's all these different people he was putting into his cabinet, and I can't believe this, I can't believe that, it's awful that we're doing this. But that alone is driving this energy that I suppose everything happens for a reason, and that might just drive the change that we need to see if there's
exactly.
decisions that people can't live with.
Yeah, yeah. Things might happen for a good reason. I mean, who knows? The But like you're right, as long as people stay with fear, you're never going to produce anything good with fear. You
No.
really got to get back. You really got to get into the heart energy, regardless of what the outside looks like, and come from that place of centered. And even if it's somebody who is a warmonger or who is considered as a warmonger, if the collective stays with the heart energy, that can change things. You know, they can change people's mind. I mean,
But
it's happened before. You know, where people can, yeah, they can change their mind and go from
well,
one extreme to the other.
it's happening. I was going to say slowly, but increasingly fast at every moment as you see more people just open up to themselves, I guess is the easiest way to say
Yeah,
it. And not care, or not care, I shouldn't say not care, but not get sucked into. I mean, if you want to watch the news and CNN and BBC and get, you can watch it for an hour and you're going to get 58 minutes of negative storylines.
yeah,
And you might get a minute of a nice story of some nice family for a minute at the end or something. Just, but and all of those things that just fuels all of that. It doesn't
yeah.
decrease it.
No, and like you're saying, people need to be informed, but at the same time, you don't have to be ruled by the news. And like my father, for example, he lives on the news. He lives on all that negativity,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate, you know. And there's a lot of people like him, you know, and they go by what they hear in the news and they think, but that's it. That's, you know, the fact that it's on the news, it has to be right. And it could
I,
be a whole lot of codswallop. But they're kind of programmed into watching the news and they get all caught up in that drama of what's going on and base their decisions on what they've seen on the news. Where it might be, chances are, it's somebody's the news is somebody's view and not always necessarily the right view or and definitely not something that we want to be buying into somebody else's drama. You know,
yeah, I
we've got to.
remember COVID, when COVID first
Mm,
hit.
yeah,
I guess that'd be 2020, right?
yeah,
Start of 2020. And I think I was watching CNN or something, and they're presenting this information about, viruses, and I'm watching this going, this isn't true. Like they were presenting information as if it was medically fact, and I'm thinking this isn't true information, and I really got turned. That's when I really started getting turned off by the power of the media and trusting it too.
mm,
I know as a kid I thought, the media was the checkpoint for what's true and what's not, and but then they all got bought out by certain corporations, and control was flipped a little
yeah.
bit.
This is it, and like you said, it's very hard to navigate through all of that and what's true and what's real. In Ireland now, they've proven that there was no extra deaths from COVID. Like our death rate, our annual death rate stayed the same. There was no extra deaths,
Is that
and
right?
and
That's not
yeah,
surprising to me, but I didn't know that.
yeah, and most people who died were they were the elderly, people who were sick, um, and who would have chances are they would have been dying anyway. The sorry state of that was that they all died alone. That family wasn't allowed to be there, and so that was very difficult for the families that were in that situation. You know, but
Absolutely. We ran into
you
that.
know,
I mean, I think everywhere ran into that with
yeah,
death and people being alone, unfortunately. And again, it was like a fear-driven
yeah,
panic, actually, because I mean, I don't know what it people running to the store here in Canada, toilet paper was a big deal. Everybody's going to run out of toilet paper.
Yeah. I
So,
think everywhere toilet paper, and why would that be such a big deal? I don't know, but everywhere we're
so,
running out of toilet paper.
but just because somebody said it, it was on the news. So the only reason they were out of toilet paper at the grocery stores is because everybody was buying it and hoarding it. But I always seemed to, anyway, it was just one of those little things that people jump to. And I agree with what you said about, I mean, it's interesting what you said about the Irish government and the death rates from COVID. I mean, we have viruses circulate throughout the world
Yeah,
every year
all of
that
the time.
that the young that are weaker or old that are, in their last days, those are the people who are susceptible to
Yeah,
more serious things. COVID certainly very contagious, but the fear driven by that was just astronomical. And you know what I
yeah,
felt from the moment we kind of got locked down here and in my neck of the woods, I felt I thought it was going to be a good thing. Not death and people suffering with illness, but bringing everybody together, at least
mm,
knowing that everybody is here,
yeah,
whether it's I care about you or I care about you because you might make me sick. At least
yeah,
at least now there's an awareness of we are all connected, and this virus is showing us that.
exactly. And that was a good thing that came out of it, was that people started to care again about other people, where
Yes.
before they were starting to lose that way. And it gave people the opportunity to reset, to really reevaluate their life and to see what's important. What am I getting caught up in? What am I missing out on? Like if we were to catch something all of a sudden, how would that affect your life? Would you have lived your life differently? But it's most people have kind of gone back to their old way of living again. I think it changed, definitely changed for a while. Um, I found it very sad that when things did start to get back to normal, one of the walks that I used to go on, which was around the town, and I'd see, now generally before I'd walk, and you'd say hello to everybody. Now I noticed that people were running across the other side of the road, so they weren't.
Yeah.
And I think, oh man, no, that's sad. That they're running away from people, and they're kind of, like you said, they're living in fear, thinking that they're going to catch something just because you're passing another human being on the street. Now that was that was pretty sad and kind of outrageous. But you
Yeah.
know,
I So since that time, I've not that I'm unfriendly, but I have said hi to virtually anybody I pass on the street, and pleasantly surprised by how a high majority, even if they look like their energy's bad or they're negative, I'm often surprised by how they all of a sudden bring a smile and engage you just by saying hello.
yeah,
And you know, I mentioned to you, I just the energies in our world in the cosmos right now, I just find are I know they're affecting me. I know they're affecting everybody. I don't know that it's obvious to everybody, but just those little things of engaging somebody, you can give yourself and somebody else will get the same spark of energy by such a simple thing.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing about the power of a smile. Like if you see somebody down, smile, give them a smile, and say, how you doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good day, whatever. And it has the power to make a difference, a positive difference in
It
somebody's life.
does. Since I lost these two teeth in the last year, the power of my smile, sometimes it still works the same, but sometimes it scares them.
Yeah, it's amazing how we can get caught up in people's and how people look.
I
Uh,
my hair is long and I have a beard. It used to be darker and shorter, and I didn't have a beard, and I got to observe perceptions of me change literally overnight, especially with the beard.
mm,
I I could see it in public or when I'm engaging people. All of a sudden I was wiser, or just with a beard. I felt
yeah.
pretty much the same. So I've just had the opportunity of visually seeing people react to me differently.
Mm,
And that's the only real change initially. Once you start talking, people who know you will know you're still you or not.
right.
But the visual part often it's a perception.
Yeah.
That's
And it's, I suppose in life, it's all about perception and how, like I said, based on looks, that most people will judge somebody else by based on the color of their skin or their their ethnicity or something other than this is another human being in front of me here, and saying, putting a smile on their face and saying hello, and then having seen somebody then respond or not respond, and if they don't respond to you, well, then you can make your judgment and say, not such a nice person, but sort of wait until you get to know them before you start judging them or having this preconceived ideas or notions of somebody because of where they're from or what they look like.
yeah, I always like so we all typically say, well, we all judge, but I prefer the word assess.
Mm,
Like we're good. Well, judgment implies a conclusion.
yeah.
Assessment is just, okay, what am I dealing with? You're these things. It doesn't mean right or wrong. It just means
Hmm.
this is how I perceive someone to be. Now, if I don't prefer that type of, personality activity, then I have the choice to dismiss myself or potentially aggravate myself by engaging with it.
Mm.
But everybody has the right to, if they're negative, I'm sure their life lessons are going to come through from that.
Oh yeah.
The most difficult moments I've ever had are usually the ones that are the gems in hindsight that, I've got the best lesson from, and hopefully ultimately it'll turn into some wisdom.
Well, like I said, typically that's where all of the gold is.
Yeah, it
I mean,
is. I
the
mean,
diamonds start off by intense pressure being put on them, and they start as lumps of coal, and then through intense pressure, they turn into these magnificent gems. And I think that's we also have that ability, through the pressures that are put on us, that it can bring out the best in us. I suppose it can also bring out the worst in people. But typically, I think like you said, it's by certain situations that we're put through that maybe it's difficult at the time, but when we look back and it's like, oh, because of that situation, I'm, that's turned me into this type of individual, and I'm that person because of the situation.
yeah, it's usually what we're challenged with, and what you do with it is what defines you, I, as an individual.
Yeah, it's what makes us grow.
If I keep running into, doorways and bumping my head and I just keep doing it, then it's going to keep hurting.
Yeah,
If I want to adjust and duck or not go through that doorway, then maybe I've learned a lesson.
yeah, absolutely. And like you said, that lovely word that you used there a film ago, we need to assess the situation and see is it safe to go in there or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're talking about all the media and that as well. So assessing it, but the word always that comes up in a lot of spiritual circles is discernment.
Mm,
And, you know, if you're going to watch the news, watch it with discernment. Like,
yeah,
you know, as I would say to my own kids, watch, listen, do whatever you want, but you make up your mind on where you are with it.
yeah.
Like, even if I'm strong on an opinion and sharing it with them, I don't want them to just take that and go, that's a fact. If it resonates with them and they weigh it out and it's now their belief, that's great. But we got to decide for ourselves instead of letting the masses or the the news, the government, the churches, the schools,
Yeah.
everybody's got input for us and lots of good input and support, but that's where the discernment part is so critical.
Mm. A good thing, something that I learned and I kind of forgot about through the years, but initially when I was starting to do Reiki and studying psychotherapy and that, and what came up was if you're watching the news and you're seeing something bad, you're being given an opportunity to send them love and blessing rather than getting caught up in the drama of it. So by focusing the love energy on the situation, that can make a powerful difference. Because God knows there's a lot of places there a lot of people out there that are hurting and that need to have some love and support, some good vibes sent their way, and that's how we can negate the negativity of the news, if you like, by turning that around, by changing our focus and sending that love
I
and
I believe what you just said there pretty much wholeheartedly. The it's the energy that you're putting.
yep,
So if you take all that off, I'm pointing at the TV like I'm watching it, but if
yeah,
you take all that energy and you know, I can't believe the atrocities happening in the Ukraine or Russia or
mm,
you know Israel and that war. Like you can easily and who's right? There is no right.
no,
I was born on this side of the equation. Suddenly you switch it and I'm bored on this side of the equation. Now the other guy's the bad guy. I don't really, that
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
equate for me. So, solving things with war and fighting, which we've done for thousands of years, hasn't worked.
no,
It's just created more borders. But you can, so to your point, if I'm watching news and it's making me feel negative and angry or frustrated, and I can't change that, I I will I'll shut it off
mm,
because it's just now it's not only so it's putting that energy in me and just like you said you're putting love out, now I'm putting that negativity out
yeah,
and it's the opposite of what I would hope to do.
yeah. And I think people don't realize the effect that it has on them because, like you said, when they're caught up in the drama, when they're caught up in that negativity, chances are they're not aware of what they're feeling, and like you said, they're putting out bad energy, opposed to changing that perception. Energy is neither good nor bad, only what we make it. We make it good or we make it bad. We have that choice in every situation to, yes, I view this as a bad thing or I view it as a good thing. It's our perception of it that makes it so. So it's something like you said, these atrocities, like that's been proven over and over. War never solved any problem,
No,
and that we need to sort of send love energy to the people who are making these decisions. I mean, if they wanted the war, if they wanted to affect the war, all they got to do is stop selling the bullets, stop making bullets. That's it. That'll go a long way to stopping these conflicts all over the place.
if I have a lot of my ancestors who were in First and Second World War, as probably many people
Yeah,
do. And, you know, we just had Remembrance Day here, November 11th. And so I always want to honor those who gave their lives.
yeah,
But when we say it's for freedom and the right way of living, I can never buy into whoever was on the other side of that isn't any better or worse than me. They come
yeah,
from a different culture and choices, and we just decided to fight
exactly.
over something.
Yeah,
But look at Germany. Just by the distance of a wall, you've got East and West.
mm, yeah,
They were the same country up until a war.
yeah,
So we put a wall up, and now they're completely different peoples.
yeah.
Like that just that's us defining, that's us creating the separation. It doesn't really exist other than what we put into it.
Mm. Yeah, and it's the same. I mean, governments are doing it all of the time. That they don't talk to that person because they're different religion, or they're different color, or they're from a different place. It's I think when you see children playing together, children don't care what color or what way people speak. They just naturally gel to each other, as they see this is somebody else to play with, and it's not until
Yeah,
parents come along and tell them, you know,
I know.
program them to no, 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 we don't talk with them, or we don't play with them.
I know, isn't
For
that crazy?
absolutely, absolutely,
And
we need to
then
become more like the children, curious and open and
we typically we train it out of our all of us by the time we're about 7 years old, they say.
mm, yeah, yeah, we're programmed into the system.
You know what, that innocence, love for others, just without question,
Mm,
we teach ourselves to question it. Why can't it be true?
yeah,
And it's only because of our own fears. In my I always got to preface everything with in my opinion.
yeah.
'Cause I
Well,
like, go ahead.
that's the only place we can come from is
Holy
from
smokes, somebody's sending, sorry.
is coming from our opinion. Like our how we assess the situation, because that's all we have to go on.
i
Yeah.
I had this chat with my daughter the other day, so I just do this one little logo. It was like one truth, one you, one truth.
Mm,
And she was like, it's not intuitive exactly what that means, but that was the whole point, is it's not up to me to decide what that means to you.
mm,
For what it means to me is everybody has their own truth, and they are themselves. So, there's 8 billion truths in this world
yeah,
as that person sees it. And that can evolve and change, but it's still their truth. And that's really where perception lies, and what your truth to any one thing is.
yeah,
I'm colorblind. You say it's blue. I say it's black. What is it?
yeah.
What is it?
That's a classic case, isn't it? It's to you it's black, to somebody else it's blue, and it's
And so the majority are going to come in and say, you're crazy. That's blue. Because
yeah,
we all have, you know, similar eye systems. But for the few that have a different input,
mm,
it's going to change. And that analogy just came up, but that's a good simple one, just to kind of
absolutely, yeah. Perception again, you know.
perception. And so we all have to have our own perception. We can't change what we perceive.
Mm,
But we certainly can be open to other possibilities outside of what we see.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's amazing too. I mean, just take like that perception. If you're looking at something from head on, you'll see things a certain way. You move over to the left and look at it, you're going to see it in a whole different light altogether. You're looking at the same thing, but you're looking at it differently. So it's yeah,
I know in several different cultures, I know in some indigenous cultures here in North America, and it might even be part of the I Ching. It's probably part of almost everything that has a deep philosophy. But if you have one, let's just pick, since we were talking about the election earlier, you need to look at something from 12 different perspectives
mm,
and come back to where you stand on it after you've got outside of, if you only have one perspective on it, to
yeah.
truly see it, you need to walk around and get a
That's a
holistic
very
view
good
of
one.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's so much, the media. If if you're pinned into a place or a corner where you can only see certain news and feedback, it's hard to have a different opinion from that.
yeah.
Then all of us, I'm, without knowing for sure, I'm fairly certain that in North Korea, they don't see most of the news that we see or any of it.
No, they see whatever your man Wan Cheng or whatever his name is wants them to see.
Yeah, so North Koreans, that doesn't make them bad. It might make them unfortunately uninformed on some topics.
Yeah,
And in some cases, maybe they're gifted because they don't get inundated with all that information.
yeah, yeah. That could be a point too. Yeah,
But
yeah.
again,
Sometimes,
everything I just said is on very minimal information where I'm getting my perception from.
mm,
Like, what do I really know about North Korea and North Koreans without ever having been there or talked to anybody? But I've got an opinion on it. Am I right or
yeah,
wrong, or I don't know?
that's it. And if you were to listen to the governments buy into their part, oh, for sure they're wrong. You know that automatically they're put as the bad people. You know, but look, that's. I
And
think
they're
we all
bad.
need.
Part of their bad, their the negativism is they want to build up the same weapons as others have.
Mm, yeah,
We can't let them get those weapons that we have.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
That's not culture.
I'd prefer we, why don't we take them away from everybody?
Yeah, I mean that idea of having nuclear weapons as a deterrent from anybody else having them. You know that it's oh, but we create the status quo that way, and it's like we'd be
It's a
far better off. Yeah,
self-defeating prophecy sort of thing.
isn't it just? Yeah. No, I think that the sooner we all realize that we're all humans, that we're all part of the human race, and I think like that too, something will probably happen in the world that will wake us all up. You know, we have this now climate change that's creating all of this trouble all over the world, and we're there in Spain now last week they had all of these floods, and there's famines going on around the place, and there's a lot of things happening from the weather that doesn't care if you're rich, poor, what color skin you are. It's if you happen to be living in such a country, it's gonna be either too hot, too cold, or flooding, or lack of food. So I think we're getting that stage where we're going to have to rely on everybody and see everybody as we're all part of the human race. And this is a problem that concerns everybody. And we need to drop all of this pettiness, worried about, what
Yeah.
people have or don't have, and trying to accumulate other people's territory and say, look, let's all pull together, for the betterment of everybody. Do far much
Yeah,
better.
what's working, not what's not working.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking about the weather. There's so much energy. Like the full moons. Do full moons? Do you feel that energy?
yeah,
Does it?
absolutely.
So full moons, the alignment of the stars, the Schumann
Yeah,
resonance, the Earth's magnetic
yeah,
electromagnetic resonance, the sun and solar flares. All of those things are changing, and they're changing us. It's
yeah.
changing the Earth, and it's causing weather impacts.
Turmoil,
But
yeah.
being aware of that, so if I read if I read my horoscope, I'm not suddenly going to go buy, shares in something because it said you're going to be lucky today. But those energies are a guide to, you know what, you might get feelings of anxiousness.
Mm,
I look at that, these energies, or being aware of them coming. The full moon has a big impact on me. I'm just
mm,
aware that, this or that type of energy may come in, then I find myself usually more prepared for it.
yeah,
Sunday, I wasn't feeling great. I lied around my house and didn't go out really, watch some movies. And to be quite honest, I was miserable. I'm not I'm not generally in, but I knew it. I was trying not to pass it on to others, but
mm,
there was an energy that I meditated a bit. I did some different things, went for a little walk just out the back of my house, but little things to try to ease it. But sometimes energies, you just got to let them go through your body and do what they're
yeah,
going to do.
exactly.
And the next day I woke up and it was a complete turnaround. And what did that? It was just a shift, and I was able to reflect on some of the things that why on Sunday I was a bad person because of it, and on Monday it was, no, you're not. You just
Mm,
put it in perspective.
yeah, I mean that is a thing, and it's something that I suppose there's a lot of people who haven't been aware, who are unaware. That saying, know thyself. When we're aware of this body that's walking around and how different things affect this particular body, because different energies, different things affect everybody differently. But when you're aware of what triggers you, what sets you off this way, what sets you off that way, when you go to the beach, how all of a sudden you feel brilliant when you're on the beach. You go up to
Yeah,
the mountain, you feel not so good. You need to be aware of how you feel in certain situations, because then you can be in more control of yourself, if you like, or make better decisions. It's when you go blind and you find yourself in a place that's not suitable for your energy, that's causing a lot of turmoil. You're going to start reacting in that way and start acting coming from a place of turmoil, opposed to realizing, no, my energy field operates better over here, and you need to move.
I
Um,
I agree. Like awareness is it's the first step to any change, is awareness. So
yeah,
if you're talking about the different situations you can put yourself in, but if you can't see that it's doing that to you,
yeah,
maybe you don't need to change it, but because it's a good thing. But if you can't see it, you can't make a decision on that.
no, because I know that definitely there, probably about 20 odd years ago, there was a lot done on the ley lines. People were talking about the ley lines and how it was affecting different people, and the electrical pylons, and
Yeah,
people were saying, oh, they're sick all of the time, or they're out of sorts because of they're living close to these. A lot of people were going to say, what a load of crock, that they were unaware that where you live can have an effect on you. If you're living in a concrete jungle, you're going to be affected in a negative way. Most people will be. We need to be out in nature, and we need to sort of find out where we operate the best from. And the ley lines, like I said, with the full moon and different being by the ocean, all of these things, they all affect me. And I know that for sure. I, at least for a certain period of time every year, I have to spend time on the beach. If I haven't spent any time on the beach and in the water, I feel differently come September. All of a sudden, like I'm out of sorts, and it's like, Jesus, what's happened? My body feels different. My energy feels different. But when I've had a lot of time, when I've been able to have time over the summer to spend time with the ocean, to spend time walking without any shoes or socks on the beach, that my energy system works a lot better than,
Absolutely.
you know?
I mean, that's just you can prove like scientifically the
Yeah,
benefit of walking
absolutely.
barefoot,
Yeah,
of getting sunshine, of being outdoors in nature. You can measure that stuff.
yeah, that's all. Science has caught up. But if you were to say that 20 years ago, people look and say, what the hell is wrong with this guy? What do you mean he needs to walk? It's people would have thought you were off the wall. But like science has caught up now, and like I said, it can be measured. The difference in your energy field, where if you're at a forest or if you're in a concrete jungle, or that could be all measured from Kirlian photography. Can measure your energy field.
Wearing rubber-soled shoes every day is disconnecting us from the earth because
Yeah,
we can't ground ourselves, like truly ground ourselves
exactly.
to the earth. You're talking about the beach. I never knew why most of my life that I love the summer. I love walking in bare feet. I don't need to be at
Yeah.
the beach. I can be in my backyard.
Mm,
But, you know, as with Ireland, we got a lot of different weather. So it's a little cold for me to go walk with bare feet right now. But I
yeah,
wish I could because I can feel the difference. It actually does and can heal your body.
yeah,
You ever seen the Earthing movie?
yeah. I don't know if I see the movie or not, but I first came across Airteen.
It's a good movie anyway.
Uh,
It's just a
yeah,
documentary, but I would highly recommend it to anybody.
yeah, because I think it was a couple of Canadian fellas that started, I suppose, the Airteen movement. Where they started making these products to to earth your home, to have these earthing sheets that you sleep on, these earthing sheets. I mean, there's so many different earthing products out there now at the moment where people thought it was crazy stuff.
And
But
they
yeah,
are,
like
and no doubt they're good products, but why don't we just use the earth?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we already have that. Yeah, but
Like
like I said, people are walking
there's
around
so
with
many
with
people I've talked sorry to interrupt, that I've talked
no,
about
no, no.
this grounding and earthing and simple as, walking bare feet.
Mm.
But people see me,
Oh,
we have that's an emergency alert. There's probably a child abducted somewhere in my
wow.
area of Canada. So, you know, hopefully all is good in that world.
Yeah, well, love and blessings to them.
That's not a bad system, though. I think it has allowed some children to be found in tough situations.
Yeah,
But anyway, that kind of got me off track, but that's the purpose of that. Um, but people might even say, yes, that makes sense. I don't see anybody, unless they're at the beach, most people will not walk barefoot
yeah,
because they need to protect their feet. But sometimes we're doing the opposite.
yeah. This is it. Like with all of these synthetic stuff, uh, like I said, we're driving in a car that has rubber wheels. We're
Yeah.
living in a home which has insulation, where a lot of people are going to work that's insulated within their environment, and like I said, they're losing that connection with Mother Earth. and they're operating on a different frequency than the Schumann resonance. Even that little thing of playing the Schumann resonance in your home, how it'll affect the energy field and how it can harmonize your area.
Well, it's changing and going up, and so are we, whether we like it or not. So,
Mm.
a lot of people won't be aware, or they'll just something's funny with the weather today, or the weather's
Mm.
really affecting people. My mom keeps telling me that there's something different going on with the weather. And you can call it the weather, you can call it the sun, you can call it the moon, you can call it the earth.
Yeah.
Those are all inadvertently, I guess, parts of weather because it's all connected. But our old answer, ever since I was a kid, is if it doesn't make sense, if there's not a flu going around, it's just something funny going on with the weather. And it makes everybody sick or
Yeah.
energetic or non-energetic. So
Yeah. Well, this is it.
I've had zaps of energy in recent weeks where I might have a day or two where it's just I I have to force myself to go for a walk. Or the funny thing with that is often that it won't get my energy back to natural state or where I would prefer it, but it certainly lifts me up by doing some of those, by getting out in nature or just any grounding exercises.
Mm.
I watched the meditation, the breathing exercise that you had posted last night, and I was already actually at a river just here in Brantford, and then I was driving out to another town, and we went to a river. There was a dam, and they got lights on it, and that it's nice. But I just listened to that on the way, and it was a nice calming, leveling. Not that I needed, I was in a good spirit, but it was just it even provided that much more comfort. And we just took some pictures and listened to the water, and it was just all a nice balance. But whether it's getting out in the weather, doing a meditation, listening to music, there's so many things we can do to balance that for ourselves
Absolutely.
when all these outside things are going to happen.
Mm.
But we can do there's so many different exercises that we can do to balance it for ourselves. Are you familiar with biogeometry?
No, I suppose there's a lot of different energy. There was bio. I know there in late 2000 there was a lot of different energy systems. Just I can't even remember the name. Yeah, I stuck
So
with the
anyway,
Reiki and with the massage. I didn't get into the bioenergy, but
I
I
mean,
came across it.
so Reiki and things like that is to me a piece of biogeometry, but it's just basically sound and
Yeah, I
frequency
mean they're
and
all similar.
shape, and all of those frequencies will literally heal our body
Yeah,
if we find the right ones for the area in need.
exactly. And that's the thing too, that we need to find what works for us and to use it. And like that too, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. There are different frequencies that they'll play, and you just put on the tape and you listen to it, and some make you feel good, and others don't make you feel too good. But finding the ones that has that positive impact on you. One thing that always worked for me, and I can't believe that looking up into the skies, the night skies, especially autumn or springtime, when you've got it's nice and cold and crisp,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh man, it's magical. And I used to be talking about and the stars and how everything is moving. I used to be talking about people about the stars, and about the Orion's belt, and that it's over somewhere else now. And people are looking at what? It's like I found that I was the only one that was doing it. I couldn't believe that everybody wasn't out there at nighttime looking up into the skies and getting. even just to be aware of the amount of stars up there and how small and insignificant we are as far as the cosmos is concerned. And it's like, oh, magical. And there's people, you talk about different stars, and they're looking at you like, huh? They've got no idea, no concept. They've never looked up. And I find that very sad, that people missing out so much. You know?
I agree. Astrological line. So I was never into astrology. I
Mm,
am very much aware and believe that the stars, the planets, our alignment is all very much, very much affects us as humans, and
yeah,
it affects the planet, it affects the weather. And it makes sense. If I truly believe that everything's connected, then that just makes sense. But there's a lot of that can be now traced. You can scientifically prove different energies. You can't necessarily say it's going to make you happy or sad, but you actually can if you want to measure, brain pulse and different parts of your brain.
yeah. And yeah. And
This
like you
this
said, with
the science of it catching up with the what at times were myths, I guess.
mm,
They're no longer myths because science is helping support some of these things. But that's what's been comforting to me, to be able to really expand my curiosity and awareness of things that I didn't believe in before.
yeah,
But especially, I'm in a city, but if you can get outside the city and see the stars, that level of it's pretty cool when you're in the city. You get outside and they take all those lights away,
mm,
and it's that much more impressive. You go up,
oh yeah,
the further north you go and get away from civilization, and then it even expands more. And you go, where did all these
yeah,
stars come from? They were always
yeah.
there.
Always there, yeah. And like you said, I mean, even like solar energy, solar flare, that people are realizing that yeah, them solar flare. I mean, they've always been hitting us, but that they've proven, science has proven now that these have an effect on our energy field and how we feel, and then they have an effect on the weather. Uh, where
And they're
20, 30 years ago, they wouldn't have. Very few people would have known or been aware of these solar flares.
yeah, and they are actually in current times bigger and more significant than they have been, but that's also comes in they're in such long cycles that people don't associate them with anything. But when you have cycles of hundreds or thousands of years
Mm.
that affect us, they're not noticed because,
They take too long.
yeah,
But there again, when you go back to the old cultures and you realize that these things that we're just becoming aware of, like with the Aztecas and the Mayans,
yeah,
the Celts, the Druids, they were all very much aware of the star systems and how everything affect and the procession and how long, it took that the stars were moving and the planets were moving and that some planets took 36,000 years to move. And how did they measure that? How did they even know that? And it's like the mind boggles that, we're only sort of copping on and having, with computers and the like, where they were following the stars and following all of these systems and had the calendar, which was 5,000 years, went forward and it went backwards. And it's like, oh, how did they do that? They were, I think definitely people were more in tune, or certain segments of the people were definitely far more in tune and far more connected to what was going on, and to realize that we're just a small part in a small cog in the wheel, that there's a lot more going on in this earth than people realize.
actually, yeah, like it's like everybody thinks we're just finding this stuff out. We're relearning, we're breaking free
Yeah.
from some amnesia of truths of how the universe works.
Yeah.
And hey, people, we are not the center.
No.
We're connected just like everybody else to the center, but
Yeah.
I guess we are all the center if you want to really get down to it. But
Yeah, well, we're all part of the minutiae in the sky, if you like. That we're all, and that's the thing. Like we are, Earth is a living thing, a living organism. That we're part of that. We're part of the Earth, and the Earth is part of us. And when we realize that and really connect with it, that every living thing is connected in some form or fashion. That you can't have one without the other. And they've proven that with the wolves in Yellowstone Park.
oh
They
yeah,
realized that all of a sudden that the trees, they were losing all the aspens because all the deers were eating them, and because there was nobody eating the deers,
yeah.
all of the aspens were they brought back the wolves. All of a sudden the aspen trees are coming back, and there's different ecosystems, and they said, that's an effect from having the wolves keeping everything in balance. Now
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're realizing the wolves are connected with the trees, with the different animals, and how everything is connected. And it's like, the same with the beavers, how they change the flow of the water, and they keep certain trees eating them down, and everything is connected, and everything has an effect. And every living thing has a purpose and has a value, and we're all connected to it.
And yeah, the magic of those connections isn't something that we as humans can just arbitrarily control,
No, absolutely not. No.
which we're just, I think, relearning that.
Yeah,
I think we've had too much impression that the world is here as a resource to us
yeah,
because we're on the top of the food chain. But
exactly.
we're just part of that chain, and the control we thought we had of it is actually what's out of control.
Yeah, yeah, and to think that we can control Mother Nature, I mean, that's pure folly altogether.
And if we just
And
work with the what is there for us, it
yeah,
will even be more impressive than we could ever,
exactly.
just
And
conjure up.
hunky dory for everybody. But to think that we can just go in and destroy things and get rid of animals because we don't like the look of them, or we think that they're a nuisance, not realizing the impact that that'll have on the greater environment and the greater things. It's yeah.
Speaking of animals and nuisances, my cat just came up here a few minutes ago and he's purring away. And he was
Lovely.
almost a nuisance because he was going to jump on the laptop here. But you know what? His little purr and all of that is
Yeah,
cat's purr. That vibration is soothing for people.
absolutely. And yeah,
Well, 10
and
years ago, 10 years ago, I didn't even, cats was one of the animals that I wasn't a cat guy.
mm,
Now I've learned to appreciate them, but never had a cat in my life before that. Dogs,
cats are
yes.
yeah, cats are interesting. My preference is for a dog as well. But
Yeah, I've
saying
always
that,
had dogs.
there's always been a cat in the house, and we've never gone out to get a cat, but there's always been a cat has always shown up.
That's how I've
Um,
got my cats too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They like a couple of years ago, we had a dog, and the dog died, and I think it was probably like a week, or maybe 2 weeks later, cat showed up, and just out of the middle of nowhere, and it's like the cat adopted us, and it's
This cat right here has a knack for going to see whoever in the house
yeah,
needs it the most, needs a hug.
yeah, yeah,
The cat seems to go visit that person.
yeah. Or when somebody's sick or has in pain.
And I've realized he comes to me at certain times of the day just because he wants his chin rubbed and he's just looking out for himself. But that's okay.
Yeah, 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 that's allowed.
He said hello, and look, it got same as saying hello in the street. I get something out of it, and he gets something out of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it, and that's the beauty of animals. The magic that they can bring us. Um, And like you said, how healing it can be.
There he is.
Yeah, yeah. There's the cat that we currently have is the same color, same
Is it?
colors. Yeah,
He's a funny one, this one.
yeah,
Anyway, more energy.
yeah, yeah. And of course, cats have always been associated with spirit and with, the etheric goings on, and the Egyptians, the kings, the pharaohs, they always had cats, and they've always associated with magic and with the star system, and the Palladians and ETs and all of that sort of good stuff.
I just watched a new Ancient Civilizations on exactly that topic yesterday.
Mm,
It was on the influence of felines in our history,
yeah, yeah,
and they talked about a lot about what you were just iterating.
yeah, yeah. There's a like I said, there's a lot more going on than most people are aware of.
Wait till no, I ain't even gonna go there. I was gonna say wait till all the spaceships start landing.
Oh well, I think they're here already.
Oh, they are
Um,
for sure. They've been
you
here
know,
here already. They've been here longer
yeah,
than longer than we possibly know.
for a long time. They have Sadhguru. If you ever listen to Sadhguru,
Yep.
they talk about the holy mountain that he goes. He doesn't always go there, but he runs some exhibitions there, and the lake has ETs living in the lake, and where everybody that goes there is affected some form or fashion. But if you can get into form of meditation, they'll communicate with you. And it sounds like a fascinating place. But for sure, they're here. They're here already. They've always been here. For us to think
Absolutely.
that we're the only ones here on this earth is pure folly.
Yeah, I'm not so sure we're not entirely. I'm not so sure we're 100% human.
No. Well, you see, that's been proven. I- If you go back to um, the Sumerian time,
Yeah,
Anki and Inki, and how we were formed, and then you look at the Egyptian writings, and they talk about how we've not been programmed, but how the DNA, how we've been made, and you look at a lot of the things that they have different animals, like half animal, half pig, or half
yeah.
pig, all of these different things, and it's all there. This genetic engineering and all this stuff, and where it's been proven that with the human DNA, and they discovered it again there, I think it was 10, 15 years ago, that there was actually, they thought there was two strands, and they covered that there was more, that they found that this strand has been spliced into our DNA system. But no, it wasn't humans that did the splicing. So somebody else did the splicing. So we had our DNA strand, and the section of it was taken out, and a different part was put in. Now in Anki and Enlil, they talk about that, and in the Sumerian times. And when you go back further on all of these things, you realize that that we're the latest product, if you like. We're the latest being on the earth that was constructed from other pieces of DNA. I mean, with the monkeys and with uh, is it the pig or is it the horse? That there's a very small difference between the DNA. There's just one little part that's different, but that all of the rest of the DNA, that we've all come from the same source.
Well, I know
It's
monkeys
just
is like
different.
90, high 90% similar to
Yeah,
ours, and
yeah,
most mammals are going to be not that far apart.
yeah.
You know,
And
you look and you go, wow, they're way different. But look at the body, and the parts that make us work are pretty
it's all
similar in how they function.
yeah. And I mean, you look at I can't remember the name now. It's Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
The Fibonacci sequence is all through nature and all through our DNA. And it's the same, and through the universe, not just us, but in the universe,
Oh,
developing
it's like,
the Fibonacci
so it,
sequences.
to me, that's part of what connects everything. It's,
Yeah,
the spiral of life. It's what
that's
Fibonacci is. And
exactly, that's the
I was
proof right there.
referencing biogeometry earlier. It's that's a big part of understanding it, is
Yeah,
understanding how all those energies come together, and how our chakra system and our energy systems
yeah,
tie into all that, so that we can harness some of it, because we don't have to be, the energies are going to hit us, but we don't have to be slaves to them.
no,
We can make it
exactly.
work to our benefit.
Yeah, and especially when we're aware of it. Yeah, it's like I said, we can use these things to our advantage or in accord with, to that's a benefit to us. And when we realize that, when we take everything into consideration, that we're not just taking, but the fact that we're giving and receiving all at the same time, and that we're working in accord with, for the benefit of every living soul that's in the earth, how everything then becomes in balance and everything is in accord. And it is only by going back and listening, like the ancients knew all of this knowledge, they had it all, and the scrolls in Tibet and all of these ancient places, that a lot of the information got destroyed or ignored. It all has value. These people knew that we were all connected, we were all part of the same thing, and that we need to be aware of that and to operate from that awareness, that I am you, you are me. I am the tree needs me as much as I need the tree, that we're all connected, the grass that we're walking on, and how everything supports each other, and when this body dies, it goes back into the earth when we feed the earth, and life goes on, the cycle goes on again.
It's like my ankle's connected to me. I don't cut it off because I have a bruise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's like that could be a person who's represent they're they're bruised, and I got to cut them off because I don't like it right now.
yeah,
But you're saying earlier about the news, approach it with love, compassion instead of getting angry, and it's how you approach it. So
yeah,
everything we've talked about, whether it's the energies of the news, or the energies of the weather, or whether there's aliens or whether there isn't, or what happened in history or what didn't, to me, if you approach it from that unconditional love and compassion and show that for all things,
yeah,
and any situation that anybody can present me will still work. You can still trace it to a good result if you start with that.
yeah,
So, somebody doesn't believe in solar flare energy. It doesn't matter if you just stick to you like to do meditation and that works for you, and you don't believe that's doing anything. Your your efforts will still work for yourself.
yeah,
You don't need to know why. If you if you if you do those things that resonate and give your body positive energy,
yeah,
the truths will just all surface anyway.
yeah. And like you said, it's I suppose that there's so much out there that we can't, maybe can't is the wrong word, but we've been given this body, we're here at this time to experience this life in
Yes.
this time. And really, that's, spirit is all about growth. So it's about increasing um, our awareness and bringing more of good vibration into this world. And I think as long as we're doing that, we're doing a good job. And it's while all of these other things are interesting, it's now is where we have to sort of put our concentration on, is in being the best version of us that we can be.
Yes.
And spirit love is for expansion. To grow that, it's to increase our frequency and forever be bringing our frequency upwards, therefore expanding the amount of love that we're bringing out into the world. So instead of, we might start off at just bringing a little bit by just giving love to, say, maybe the plant or the trees, and then our energy system becomes more fine tuned, where we can send more energy out, send more love, and go even further. Where, like they say, if you sit in the company of these gurus that they have in India, these holy people, that you feel the love. They don't. Nobody has to say anything, but you just feel that love energy purely by being in their company. And I
Absolutely.
think,
Sometimes they
I
call
think,
it life force,
yeah,
but and
yeah,
it is in everything.
yeah, and
And
that's what we can grow that within us, so that we can touch everything with a good sense of love and vibration.
and when you get a whole bunch of those things connecting, all of a sudden you've got all of
Yeah,
us exponentially building that energy.
yeah,
And before you know it, we're all going to like each other.
yeah.
I
What
believe
a
that.
thought.
I
Yeah,
believe, I don't know the time frame on that, but it's coming. It's
yeah.
happening. I can see it every day.
Well, the fact that we're speaking about it here, and that's going to be played out there. People are going to be listening to that. That's going to,
Most of the conversation we've had together, we 10 years ago, probably neither of us would have been fully comfortable with it. Or I don't, it's hard to say. I don't want to pick time frames, but most of the topics we just talked about, there was a number of years where I was going through this and coming to my own conclusions on it, where
mhm,
I didn't have anybody to bounce it off of.
yeah,
It was, you could find something on the internet somewhere, maybe. There was some different sites that helped me. People like Sadhguru a number of years ago, just a couple references, like, it's like you listen to it and go, that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But
because
having this type of open conversation and seeing it all over is why I believe that we're getting there.
yeah, yeah, and like I said, there's a lot more of it around, and there was very few and far between. Even when you go back as far as books, there was very few books. There was um, the Harbingers, Bringers of the Dawn. I think was one of the first books that I read, and I read the Indian books about Krishna and about those. But other than that, there was very little information out there that you could get that's related to what we're talking about. Graham Hancock then was one of the first authors that I came across, and he wrote Fingerprints of the Gods, and he went back to the Sumerian times, and he talks about the pyramids and the Mayans, and that's something that I kind of believed in anyway before he started. But he affirmed that's like, yeah, I know that he's speaking my language, and
And
you can't deny that.
he was vilified for years as
Yeah,
a as
absolutely.
a
Still,
in a lot of high educational circles as
yeah,
just making stuff up. And
yeah,
each and every day, year that I've been familiar with him, he becomes more creditable.
yeah,
I mean, I most of what he speaks of, I just go, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
He's got
absolutely.
some background and some real, as he likes to say, get your boots on the ground. That's how you learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that too, I mean, science and technology has proven a lot of what he talked about before, and especially with um, these things that can penetrate the earth and map what's underneath the earth, and they can see all of these systems. That place in
Oh,
Turkey.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember the name of it, but
Yeah, I forget now what it's called, but they have that place in Turkey now that they
LiDAR? Was it LiDAR? Anyway,
something like that. Anyway, yeah, but that they rediscovered. I forget now what it's called, but they thought it was just a small little structure, and they realized that it's like wow,
well, like Göbekli
it's
Tepe.
exactly
Yeah,
that whole thing is huge, and that it's
yeah,
all from different timelines.
and
That they only uncovered a very small part of it. That there's miles and miles of the stuff underground.
and yeah, and they're finding all sorts of different complexes not too far from there as well.
Yeah, yeah, and of course that ties in with again when you go back to the Sumerian time, and especially with those caves that are there, because they reckon from that area was the start of humanity. Was they reckon was started there. The farming and the growing of the grains, and it's like all of a sudden, how could it go from nothing to all of a sudden people know how to farm and how
Yeah,
to societies and all the rest of it. But the cave system that they found that goes under the ground, that the doorway, only if there was an earthquake, they would never have discovered this. And they realized that the doorway to this structure only opened from the inside, couldn't open from the outside. And they say, well, what was that from? And you go back then to the Atlanteans, where the story was that there was like a nuclear war, and there was um, some sort of
yeah,
strong energy systems that man abused and destroyed the world at that time. And so that's why people had to go underground. The story of the Australian Aborigines was that man came from underneath the earth. With the American Indians Plains, I think it's the Apaches. In their story, they talk about that we came
the
from
ant
underneath
people.
the earth.
Yeah,
So it's like a lot of these things that there's so much that we're unaware of, and that we need to.
well, see, a lot of these ancient megaliths and just sites where people live that we're discovering
Mm,
are creating so much uncertainty in what our society's truths have been built on,
yeah, well, of
that
course.
that's why a lot of this is taking so long to come, like just Egypt and the pyramids and the purpose
Mm,
that they exist. Egyptian government doesn't want to admit
exactly.
certain truths just because of what it will do to their society. Like you
Yeah,
said, this was true. Well, that's not.
yeah, yeah,
It's just
and of
going to
course,
turn things upside down. But I think it's already getting turned, and it's time to just
yeah, yeah,
accept.
because our organized religion is already on and that's essentially there. That's the organizations had the most to lose by having people think for themselves, or to know that what we've been told, what we've been programmed, has been all wrong, and that there's so much more to us than we've been led on. I mean, most people have been programmed to be poor, that there's virtue in poverty, um, that we're small, that we need to go through, that we can't make our own connection with spirit, but that we have to go through these different individuals to
Yeah,
make a connection with spirit. And you can go on and on and on. So when you realize that no, uh, our our purpose here is to be rich in every form and fashion that we want, that we can have, be, and do whatever it is that we wish, once it's in alignment, once we're not, you know, being disrespectful and murdering other people. But it's all about growth and expansion. We have these gifts, we have these abilities that are, I think, is our aim, is that we have to discover what they are and bring more of it to the fore, put the light on these gifts that we have, and so that we can share them with everybody, making this world a better place for everybody. Because that's what spirit, I think, is all about.
I agree because you know any formal belief that is judgmental and inclusive or non-inclusive, if you don't believe what I believe, then that's certainly not for me.
No.
I mean, you don't have to believe what I believe, but if we can't connect on the things that we are just naturally connected on, then that's gonna create all this separateness we have and the borders we have and
Yeah,
the wars we have.
that's it.
As a kid, I always wondered, I grew up going to a Catholic elementary school, but why is Christianity the only right religion when, it was came to the forefront in that area of the world?
Yeah,
Well, what about the rest of the world that it didn't come to the forefront? Why is it not true on the other side of the world?
yeah, yeah.
So
And who
it
says
just it
no?
created so many questions because
Yeah,
of I'm right, you're wrong.
yeah, exactly. And when you're talking about there's only one God, and it's like, well, what about those guys over there that that have
Exactly.
Buddha? Where does God come into that thing? Or with the Indians that have the Krishna and Kali, and they have all of these other gods. What's the story there? But I think when we can put that all out there together, and it's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
When you can take bits of and put it together, it makes so much more sense
Well, it's all
than
the same story, just assembled differently,
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or
And
or concealed or not. It just is.
yeah, and it gives us choice. Because that's the one thing that comes down is that we were given free reign, free choice, that we can choose what it is we want to believe in. Um, Spirit wants us obviously to go back to Spirit, but it given us the choice to go back. Uh,
Absolutely.
you know,
We had the choice to get where we are,
yeah,
and
and
some
that's
of that was turning away from true spirit.
exactly.
But
I think when
what
we
would we
when we
learn without having done this? Would we have learned what we need to
yeah,
learn?
yeah, exactly. And I think once we come from the standpoint that we're a spirit with a body, not a body with a spirit, and spirit can only express itself through us, but that it's all experience. Everything is just experience. Spirit is experiencing life and its ups and downs, trials and tribulations. It puts a whole different swing on things, and when we know that we're part of spirit and that we can connect, bring our consciousness upwards instead of spiraling downwards, man, we can create wonderful things.
I'm with you, brother.
Anyway, Roger, we're going to leave it at that. I think we must
Yeah,
have been talking for a
we've
good
been
while.
we've been blabbing on for a while, haven't we?
I'd say so. I'd say so.
And I say that kiddingly. I enjoy our conversations very much.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
it's brilliant.
your tan looks good, Declan.
Yeah, I tell you, it's being out in a bit of sunshine always makes me feel good for my spirit. And being in the water, I've been every day now. I've been walking, um, out in nature, in the ocean, bit of sunshine, bit of nice bit of fish, and plenty of rest. And yeah, it's
There's
I'm
no
I'm
better
here for the
medicine.
healing. I tell you, I'm here for the healing.
All right.
Roger, we'll stop it there, man.
Yes,
We'll we'll
brother.
we'll
Great
talk
to
to you
talk
later
to you
on.
again. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. It'll probably be a while before I process this because I'm not sure how to do it on the phone. I'll probably
Yeah.
wait till I get back and
Yeah.
do it back. But
It's okay.
once
It's
we get
okay.
back,
I got what I want.
well, that's good.
Oh,
But
one more
it's
question.
yeah,
So I like what you're doing.
right.
What's driving you? Or what's
Spirit. It's I became aware of what we're talking about more than 30 years ago.
yeah,
And people used to tell me, "Oh, you're full of shit." It's all, that you're this, you're that, you're the other.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I think when we know better, we can do better. And I think it's kind of our ownness is to share our wisdom. It's no good being all stuck inside of me. If I know all about these things, or think I know about these things, stuff that I've read, stuff that I've come across over the last couple of years, doesn't do a damn bit of good stuck inside here. It's got to come out, and it's got to be. Now we have a platform that enables that. So by using technology, somebody came up with this idea. They had this knowledge inside them. Say,
Yeah.
hey, how about a phone? How about a phone that we can put pictures on? How about a phone that we can talk to people? That started off inside somebody's head, inside somebody's imagination, and now we're using it. So the same thing again, all of this knowledge that we're talking about, this stuff that we have inside, I think we have to get it out and share it with people, and hopefully it will click off on somebody, and they say, that reminds me of something, or it helps somebody else to think about something, so that they too can start bringing forth
Triggers
their
the
wisdom.
awareness and then the acceptance
Exactly.
of their
Yeah.
truth. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by
For me,
bringing more of the light.
so I just know I need to do more of that. It's part of my purpose.
Yeah.
And part of just connecting with you was just a divine nudge to get me to trigger my own creativities and express myself the way is best for me, as you found a way for you to do it.
Exactly.
And I want to not tell people this is the way it is. It's like you said, just there's other possibilities.
Yeah. And all it is a conversation between two guys.
Yeah.
And it'll some people will resonate with it and other people won't. But hopefully will bring more light into the world, and help more people to uncover them true selves. And if somebody picks up something that we say that helps them to think or to question things a bit more, I think we've done our job.
Yeah. And in the meantime, usually we get a few of those things back where we get to, I'll pose something to somebody and they'll ask me a question about it. Now I gotta okay, where does that fit in how I think of things?
Mm,
You know, the growth is two-way and it never stops.
exactly.
So
And
thank
like
you
I
for
said,
that gift.
thank you, brother. Like I said, we're all connected.
Okay.
Um,
So I'm gonna disconnect.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
talk to you soon, brother.
All right. Goodbye.
Take care. Love and blessings. Bye now.
Bye.